Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video on recommendation letter. Today we will be looking at the importance of recommendation letter and how to write a recommendation letter in supporting your petition. Recommendation letters provide the context, insights, and subjective endorsements from professionals, experts, individuals, maybe your current or former employers, from professors, industry leaders, colleagues, or even from government agencies who can speak to your abilities and contributions to your field. Recommendation letter provide external validation. Recommendation letters provide context and credibility to the claims you have made in your immigration petition. They help immigration authorities to understand your work within the broader industry or context you are claiming. It shows that your work is of national importance, and so on and so forth. There are many benefits recommendation letters can offer in supporting your immigration petition. This is a continuation of videos I have been sharing on employment-based immigration. Second preference refers to as EB-2 category, which is one of the pathways to becoming a permanent resident of the United States. If you have not subscribed, click on the subscription button to support my channel. And also, it is important to know that this video is in series. Find in the description button links to other videos which I have created to assist you in self-petitioning or otherwise understanding the contents, the context of this immigration pathway. What are the key elements of a recommendation letter? Some will call it a reference letter, a supporting letter, a testimonial letter. Whichever you choose to call it, it's a letter that carries weight and is very, very important. Now, the key element of such recommendation letter should describe your past achievements. This letter should outline your accomplishments, emphasizing, your accomplishments, impacts, and its significance in your field. And this description serves, again, to validate your expertise or whatsoever claim you have made in your petition. Another thing important is providing specific examples. You want to make sure that your recommenders are able to give, state specific examples to back up your claim. These specific examples are crucial in demonstrating how your work has made a tangible difference. And these examples can add depth and credibility to the claims you have made in your immigration petition. Also, it's positioned to advance the endeavor you have claimed. Your letter of recommendation, which you will submit alongside your petition, the application you made, should convincingly explain why you are also well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor. And this could include discussing your unique skills, experience, or even access to resources that make you a standout candidate. So here is the thing. You want to file for EB-2 self-petition, for example. You have your written petition, which is in form of many pages, right? In that self-petition which you've written on, you've made so many claims. Recommendation letter is one of the way to back up those claims. And this recommendation letter is coming from external persons. The question as to how many recommendation letters should you include in your petition depends. We've seen cases of people that included 5 recommendation letters, at least 5. And I have seen some who used about 10 recommendation letters. So the number depends on you. Just make sure it's doing what it is meant to do. I have a case study of someone which I'm going to share with you about maybe 2 recommendation letters, because this is more or less like a workshop for you to understand how such recommendation letter is unique and different from just a mere recommendation letter supporting maybe your application to grad school or haven't gotten another job and they need your recommendation letter. These are quite different. The depth of this recommendation letter for the purpose of this immigration petition is different and unique. So, case study. This person submitted 6 recommendation letters, and I will break it down for you. One was from his professor during his undergraduate degree in his home country. One was from his present major professor. One was from one of the line manager whom he has worked with in the US. One was from a professor whom they have done community project work together. And one was from also a professor outside of his department with whom they've also engaged in projects together. And one was from a professor whom they only met once at a national conference. So your recommendation letter can come from people who can validate your claims, who can validate your work, who can speak about your profession, your area of proposed endeavor. And if you are talking about number of work experience which you've done in a particular complaint, if that's part of your petition, you may also get a recommendation letter from your employer or previous employer or even current employer to also support your claim. And it's been said that your recommendation letters which you're going to be submitting should also be accompanied with the recommender's CV. You can ask your recommenders of their CV. You can, if they are on LinkedIn, you can get a recommendation letter directly from LinkedIn, from their LinkedIn profile page. Or if some of these recommenders have websites, say for example, they are professors, some of them do have their CVs on publicly available sources, although those set of CVs may not be up to date. So you want to make sure you ask them for their respective CVs, which is up to date. Right, shown on the screen is a sample of a recommendation letter that accompanied a petitioner's petition. Again, this is a sample. You can use it to get an idea of how a recommendation letter is written, and you can suggest to your recommenders what you expect them to include in the letter. This is very important because when you are asking your recommenders for a letter, you want to explain to them what you are applying for. You also want to ensure that the claims you have made in either your chapter 1, where you've written about advanced degree, where you've written about another chapter, substantial merit and national importance, where you've written about that you are well positioned, where you've written about you do not need a job offer to be considered under this category. You want to make sure that some of the paragraphs, some of the sentences you've written there can be substantiated, can be supported by the recommendation letter as well. And in some cases, there are some lines, some sentences, some paragraphs from the recommendation letter which you've received from the recommender that can be used to back up some of your claims in the letter, your self-petition letter itself. So in a nutshell, it's important that when you ask your recommenders, maybe by emails, you send them an email, you state what you need it for, you want to explain to them clearly. You can also suggest to them, like, you probably need this, and that. You also probably want to send them a sample, if that will help them. Send them a sample that can be of help, a sample you can send to them, and they can probably utilize that for you also. So let's take a look again at this sample. Yours can be different. Just learn from the process. You want to ensure that your recommender's letter, if it has the company's logo where your recommender is working, it can be more official. The dates it's written and the addressee where it's going to. In this case, you can see how it's written here: the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. And we have independent letter of recommendation for Mr. A, the name of the person they are writing the letter for. This person stated something, independent letter. Well, some say there are two types of letter: dependent letter and independent letter. And what is the difference? A dependent letter can be said to be a letter that is written directly from someone who knows you so well, whom you have worked together, collaborate together. For example, if you are a graduate student, you have a major professor whom you are working under, who is like your supervisor. Such person, such letter coming from such person is a dependent recommendation letter. On the other hand, let's assume that you've done something in a particular field or a particular area which you are claiming, and people recognize you from that, from your work. They recognize you through your work, maybe citations, maybe in conferences. They met you through that. They know your work. You two have not really worked together, but they know you through your work. And if you are able to get a recommendation letter from such person, it is said to be an independent recommendation letter. Arguably, people say independent letter carries more weight than dependent letter. It depends. Let's go back to this sample. Dear Immigration Officer, I am writing in full support of Mr. A's immigration petition. I want to highlight that I have never collaborated or worked with Mr. A in any capacity, so consider this an independent reference for his case. So you can see this first paragraph, which is very clear, telling the officer who is going to be in charge of this person's petition that, see, I have never worked with this person before in any capacity, so it's an independent reference letter. Before elaborating on Mr. A's scholarly achievements, let me briefly tell you about myself and my work So in this case, the recommender is introducing him or herself, which is a very important segment. Look at it this way. The officer in charge of your case, as is written in your petition, and also looked at your reference letter, recommendation letter. Where is the recommendation letter coming from? Who is writing this recommendation letter? It means a lot, because people can just ask anybody, maybe just ask a very close friend of theirs to write a recommendation letter, which will definitely be biased, right? So in the recommendation letter, you want to ensure that your recommender writes at least maybe a paragraph about him or herself. And that's why you also back it up with the recommender's CV. Let me briefly tell you about myself and my work. I am, the recommender's name, an associate professor of instruction in the Department of Medical Engineering and director of first-year engineering program at the name of the company. My research investigates the underlying explanatory factors that impact female attrition rates and assessments instruments that measure the progression of, and so on and so forth. So what we've seen in this paragraph is the recommender introduces himself or herself, tells us his or her complaint, tells us area of his research. If your recommender is your employer or a previous employer, in this kind of paragraph, he or she wants to introduce the company where he's working, how he or she knows you, how he or you two have worked together, in what capacity, things like that. Let's go further to another paragraph. I met Mr. A for the first time at the name of the place held in the location. So during the conference, so this next paragraph is only talking about how the two met. You're writing a recommendation letter for someone. You also want to be sure that what's the connection? What's the connection? How did you two meet? So that's what this paragraph is all about. Then on to the next paragraph. Let's see. Mr. A, emphasis on broadening participation in engineering aligns with the U.S. strategic objectives, especially considering the 2020 National Science Board's Vision 2030 report that underscores the importance of broadening participation in science and engineering for the nation to maintain its global leadership in technological innovation. So, well, this paragraph is only talking about, that means this recommender knows about the area of proposed endeavor of the person he or she is writing the recommendation letter for. That's why I said you want to make sure you give them detailed information as to what you expect from them. His innovative research provided valuable quantitative data on community college pathways and descriptive statistics regarding Black collegians' transfer rates in historically Black colleges and universities from geographically diverse locations in the U.S. This research fills a significant gap, given that national transfer data typically needs more discipline-specific or demographic details. Again, it's just letting us know that this recommender knows about the area of proposed endeavor of this person. And so he or she is writing more about it. So in addition, Mr. A's research on international engineering graduate students, particularly from sub-Saharan Africa, offers a comprehensive understanding of their experiences and valuable contributions to the U.S. So again, this recommender is talking about one of the work done by this person, right? Recall that this person is an independent recommender who have stated how the two of them met. And after that, introduces who he or she is. And after that, talks about the area this person is working on, how important it is, how it's of national importance. Then again, started talking about one of the work this person have done. You see all the connections. His work highlights the importance of supporting the students, especially considering the predicted 13% growth in science and engineering jobs by 2026 and the need for increased diversity in the field. His study advanced the literature by providing educational researchers and practitioners with an innovative understanding of sub-Saharan African graduate engineering student experiences before and after transitioning to the United States. Mr. A's research findings help inform practices within the engineering program to better support potential graduate students in making similar transitions and broadening the participation of African diasporic engineering students in the US. So this recommender knows about this person's work and is now speaking to it. This person, one would say that in the person's petition, he or she has written about his work. And now a recommender is also speaking about his work. So it's like evidence, it's like backing up the claim of what has already been written in the person's petition. All right, so that's it. And let's look at a quick paragraph. Impressively, let's look at this one. Impressively, I learned that. So this is like the recommender heard about this, about the person he or she is writing the recommendation letter for. So impressively, I learned that Mr. A secured 4 competitive presentation opportunities at the 2024, the name of the conference. His dedication to engineering education and research is further exemplified by his roles as the, dash. So if you have a leader in some roles, nationally, internationally, and if your recommender is aware of it, your recommender can write about it because you've also stated it in your written petition. So this is backing it up. I want to emphasize that Mr. A is a key associate on 2 ongoing National Science Foundation and 2 Department of Defense funded projects amounting to, this is about $24 million. So this person is working collaboratively on a nationally funded project by key organization, Department of Defense, National Science Foundation, and this amount to about $24 million. So who is going to say that the area of proposed endeavor of this person is not of national importance or national or significant merit when it's being funded by key United States organization? So if there's any project you've been working on, you want to make sure that your recommendation, your recommenders are able to speak to that as well. Perhaps some of these things have already been written in the petitioner's letter. And so this recommendation letter is backing it up. It is rare to find a graduate research candidate with such an astute background, keen abilities, and drive to excel. These are just putting honey in the letter. So in conclusion, I hope you strongly consider Mr. A's exceptional competencies, research contributions, and leadership in the US and approve his application for permanent residency under the EB-2 category with National Interest Waiver. Again, I told you from the beginning that you want to make sure you let your recommender know exactly what you are requesting from them, and perhaps send them a sample. This evidently shows that this recommender knows what this person is applying for, and so is making it strong unequivocally, Mr. A epitomizes the exceptional ability category, and I am confident Mr. A will continue to bring significant value to the nation and the global engineering community. Should you have questions or need further clarification, please get in touch with me via email at, the recommender included is our email. Sincerely, you want to make sure that your recommender signs, for authenticity. So signature, full name, title, other titles, department, complaint, and address. So you don't just want to write, you don't just want to get a recommendation letter that would look as if it's you that have written it or cook it up by yourself. No, you don't want it to be that way. Your recommendation letter should be professional, should be, should look very official. All right, so here I'm going to provide a second sample. Again, this is a workshop. If you are going to be sending samples to your recommenders, you want to make sure that the samples are unique. Because if you send the same kind of samples, then it's going to be like you are the one writing the recommendation letters by yourself. You don't want, it should never be like that. So make sure your samples are also unique in case you choose that path of sending samples to your recommenders. And of course, there are ways people have tried to go about this. And be wise in how you approach it. Some things are better kept. Again, look at the samples. We have the company's logo, dates. We have the dates on the left side. The previous one, I think the date was on the right side. Then the addressee, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, read the name, dear sir or madam. So different approach. So let's look at how this recommender did his or her own. It is my pleasure to provide my strongest support to Mr. A in his application and provide insights into his accomplishments in and contributions to the field of engineering and computing education. Apparently, this shows that the recommender knows this person, right? He knows the person's field where the person is working on. I have had the privilege to witness Mr. A's research and practice work through his work as a research assistant and key associate of a large-scale program entitled Culturally Responsive Engineering Experience Design and Development Grade 2 through Teacher Undergraduate Engineering Student Partnership. Okay, so again, the recommender in this case, one would assume is a dependent recommender, right? Because it says, I have had the privilege to witness, so in one way or the other, perhaps they've worked together on a project. Then the recommender went ahead to talk more about the project. You don't want to leave the officer in charge of your case guessing. Then don't let them guess. Let everything be explicit. If you let them guess, they might send you an RFE, which is request for evidence. They might not, in the first instance, approve your case if they feel something is missing. Don't cause them to think or guess. Put in your best. The Grade 2 project is a nearly $2 million NSF-funded research grant that is focused on broadening participation in pre-college engineering education by finding new innovative ways to integrate engineering into formal K-12 education and to design equitable and inclusive K-12 engineering experiences, right? So this person is saying that, the recommender is saying that He or she knows Mr. A. They have worked together on this project, and this project is funded by a government parastatal, and the funding amount is $2 million. So in the person's petition, he or she might have written there on this project that, yes, I work on this project, this is my contribution in this project, this and that, right? How will the officer in charge of the case know that this person is saying the truth? Here is one way of showing the truth. One way of showing the truth. A recommendation letter is reconfirming that, yes, this person worked on this project. All right, so let's see. As the principal investigator for the CREED-2 project, I oversee all aspects of the research and program implementation, and I have seen Mr. A's work with our team as vital to achieving the potential of this program. This said it all. This recommender is the principal investigator, the number one on this project. And the number one on this project is saying that the person he is right or she is writing this recommendation letter for is very important, very vital to this project. That is a very strong evidence. Who is going to deny such petition if this person is very important to see to the success of a $2 million project in the US? All right. Let's continue. I hope I hope the essence of all this is for you to gather ideas, to have an understanding of how this thing can be of great help to you, so that you are well informed as to what is expected, and not just writing a shabby recommendation letter by the recommenders. You want to ensure that they hit the nail. You want to ensure that you give them ample time to write a very strong letter for you. When I think about engineering and computing, I think of the ways that these two fields permeate our everyday existence, and our continued preeminence of the United States in this field is critical to scientific, technological, and economic preeminence in the world. Well, this aspect, the recommender is trying to speak more about himself, about the project, the importance, which is really great. And if you look at the last sentences, the CREED-2 project will develop a model for teacher professional development and support that leads to a refined research and practice-informed model. So that's all about the recommender writing about the project itself. So let's go to another paragraph in this letter. The CREED-2 team. So obviously, this project comprises of some persons who are working together, right? So it has a team, and one of the members of that team is the person the recommender is writing a letter for. The CREED-2 team has been fortunate to leverage Mr. A's past experience, his technical knowledge in engineering, and his current work as an engineering and computing education researcher. So the recommender is saying that, see, we've been benefiting from this person's exceptional ability. Mr. A was a pioneer research assistant and a key associate recruited to the project because of his exceptional abilities and unique qualities. Look at what a recommender is writing, which are strong claims. Come to think of an officer reading about such recommendation letter, it speaks volume. And his contributions since that time have been essential to the successful program planning, launch, and execution of the CREED-2 project over the past year. Again, the recommender is speaking about Mr. A's expertise and contribution. So I think that's it. And the rest of the sentences in the paragraph speaks about how Mr. A has contributed to this project. So giving specific examples, your recommender wants to give examples of what you have done, why they are recommending you. So, and that's it. Then in the last paragraph, I think the recommender tried to write about him or herself again. I have been fortunate to be part of the development and implementation of large-scale experiences like EB-2 that have had broad impact. So this is again about the recommender, which is very good, so that the officer in charge can know that this recommender, even though is a dependent recommender, someone who has worked collaboratively with this person, the person is writing the recommendation letter for, even though they are working on together, this recommender is trying to let the officer know who he or she is, what he or she has done or is doing, so that the officer will not just think that, no, there is this letter is biased, things like that. So again, that is it. And so my current work have helped from my view that Mr. A is an extremely promising engineering and computing education professional who has the capacity to conduct research that will have a significant impact on meeting our nation's needs in engineering and computing. He demonstrated this potential through the EB-2 project in many ways, which has been highlighted in earlier paragraph and sentences. So that's it. For this reason, I strongly support Mr. A's petition to the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. He is an outstanding researcher, a great educator, a creative innovator, an excellent manager, and a person with extraordinary ability. These are the words of a recommender. His skills in engineering and computing education will significantly benefit the United States in our work to strengthen the engineering and computing workforce and maintain global excellence. So that's the sample. I've showed you 2 samples of recommendation letters. Get ideas from this. Use this to craft samples if needed. Use it to tell your recommender, speak to them. Aside you sending them an email, my own personal advice to you, yes, you send your recommender an email greeting the recommender, telling the recommender you need a letter from him or her for this purpose of this, and that. Beyond that, even if you include samples in the email, like see samples that you can use, I would love that you speak to this project, we've worked together, this part, things like that. Even after all that, you want to have a one-on-one engagement with the recommender, because through the one-on-one, it probably gives you to the opportunity to understand what is expected. You want to make sure your recommender have a good understanding of what they want to do, what they want to write on. It's not just a mere recommendation letter. It has to meet a particular standard. And you want to make sure you send them reminders, give them ample time, send them reminders. Even when they eventually send the recommendation letter to you, you want to make sure you cross-check it. Cross-check it. If there are errors, some can make errors. If there are errors, you want to suggest correction to them. If there are things you feel like they didn't really add, they forgot, you want to suggest back to them again. So again, your recommendation letter is very significant, is highly important. Make the best use of it. That will be the end of this video, and I'll see you again in another video. I'm going to put in the description section if you need consultation, you want to consult with me, feel free to reach out, check the description section, reach out to me by email, and I'll be ready to schedule a consultation, paid consultation service for you. All the best, and bye-bye.